Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at possibly the most passive of passive incomes, research and development agents. If you enjoy exploring ways of making ISK through the market, through research, through manufacture and other passive methods, then please think about subscribing to the channel. There'll be more of this to come. It helps me out immensely and it is very much appreciated. So research and development agents give you research points that you can now exchange for data cores. However, this wasn't always the case. In the early years of EVE Online, you needed an R&D agent to grind up in order to be able to get the research points, which would give you access to potential Tech 2 BPOs. Every day the R&D agent would give you a set amount of research points. And these points would systematically collect over the days, the weeks, the months in which you ground out the R&D agent. And every now and then, CCP would release some more Tech 2 BPOs to the public. Now the type of BPO that potentially you would be entered into the lottery would depend on what kind of R&D agent you'd researched or ground up. So for instance, for the EOS BPO here, you would have needed to have done a Glanty R&D agent for Starship Engineering. So when CCP was ready to release a new BPO, allegedly they would run a lottery style system, including your points and everybody else's points, and basically they would draw a ticket. If you happen to have that ticket, one of your R&D agents had that number, then you would win the BPO. Upon winning a BPO, all your R&D points would be burnt up for that specific agent. And this is how Tech 2 BPOs came into EVE Online initially. This system had its controversy, but we won't get into that in this video. So after the Tech 2 BPOs were seeded, you were basically left with an agent generally grinding out research points for no reason whatsoever. Basically it was defunct and useless at this point. Now in this period, Tech 2 items used to cost an arm and a leg. You could pay 25 million ISK for a cap recharger 2, for instance. So CCP decided that it needed another way of making Tech 2 items, and thus Invention was born in the Revelations expansion in 2006. So in order to make a Tech 2 BPC, you need to use data cores for the corresponding item. And the way that you would be able to get the data cores was made by the R&D agents. So for everybody that ground up the agents, they weren't useless anymore, and that basically you could now start exchanging your research points for data cores and selling them on the market. Now I don't remember the exact price, but I do remember it being relatively profitable. Now I don't remember the exact date for this, but around about 2012, may have been slightly earlier, they added data cores to faction warfare, and that basically you could now buy them with loyalty points. This made getting data cores much easier, much less grindy, and that basically the price of data cores generally tanked quite considerably. And here we are today. So now that history lesson's out of the way, let us take a look at research agents themselves. In order to get a research agent, you have to find the research agents for the required race. I don't know what the others are, to be fair, but for Caldari it is this. Generally you want to grind it to level 4, which obviously level 4 missions grinding doesn't take a huge amount of time, but you obviously do have to grind. If you're not much of a grinder or much of a mission runner, there are a few other ways, but generally this is the easiest and most straightforward. You then need the research management project skill, which is a rank 8 skill itself and requires research 5 and laboratory operation level 5. The level of this skill directly affects how many research agents that you can have per level, to a maximum of 6. Now being a rank 8 skill, in order to get the last additional research slot, it's roughly a month's worth of training. And for one last final bit of weirdness, the secondary attribute for this is charisma, which I believe is the least used attribute out of all of the attributes. Now consider it's a science skill, it deviates, which is usually intelligence and memory. Intelligence, memory, intelligence, memory. But for whatever reason this is memory and charisma. So now that you've taken the time to grind up the agents, you've taken the time to grind up the skills required, you've changed your attributes in order to get the maximum skill efficiency, what can we expect to earn from this? Well, as the title of the video suggests, I have been training these for 8.2 years. Apparently, I did the maths earlier just to check, and yeah, it's roughly 8.2 years since I last claimed any data cores. So in order to be able to claim the data cores, you have to go to the station with the corresponding agent. Now, obviously I've got 5 agents here. So you just right click, you start your conversation, and we buy the data cores. And then it gives you the option of how many you want to buy and how much it's going to cost. So as we can see, this one specifically is electronic engineering. So I quickly totted up the numbers. I've got 1.36 million research points. Now it costs me 100 research points per data core. So if we divide that by 100, it would give us 13,603 data cores. It costs us plus 10 grand as well. Now let's just see how much these are selling for. So to the market, electronic data cores. Electronic engineering are selling for roughly 157,000 ISK apiece. So divide the times that by 147,000, because we have to take off the 10,000 ISK that it's going to cost us, and that gives us a total of, let's round it off to 2 billion ISK. So let's break that down. So over 8.2 years gives us 243 million ISK a year. Divide that by 12 is 20 million ISK a month. Divided that by 30 gives us 677,000 ISK per day. Oh, did I forget to mention the research skill itself is 40 million ISK. So by that calculation, it's going to take us 2 months just to pay for the skill itself. So 2 billion ISK for 8.2 years of accumulated research points. Now the question is it worth it? Initially, when I started making this video, or when I decided to start making this video, it was going to be a no, it's really not worth it, don't bother, it's a complete waste of time. And there are definitely better things or more rewarding things to spend your time grinding. Now, over the course of doing the video and looking at it and thinking about it, I haven't changed my mind, but I will look at it from a slightly different point of view. So on this character alone, I've accumulated the 2 billion ISK. I obviously got paid to do the level 4 missions, or grinding up to the level 4 missions. Now, if you enjoy grinding missions, I don't personally, but if you do, then it's definitely something to think about. Now, obviously, 2 billion ISK over 8 years isn't a great return when all's said and done. As we just worked out, it's pretty poor. But on a side note, it is completely and utterly passive. You have, again, I haven't interacted with these for 8.2 years. These continue to accumulate whether you're online, offline, whether your account has lapsed. Basically, these grind every single day, no matter what. So you could potentially grind this over several accounts. Now, standings and faction increases can be shared for anybody that's in fleet, so you could train numerous alts up relatively swiftly. But saying that, there are many better ways of earning ISK in EVE Online, which are a lot more efficient and effective. However, this is the single most passive way to earn ISK. And at the end of the day, it's up to you to decide whether this is a route, whether this is something that is going to give you enough ISK for the amount of effort that you're going to have to put in. And I guess at the end of the day, only you can decide that. So if you made it this far into the video and you're not subscribed, please think about subscribing. If you like the content, then please give it a thumbs up. There will be many more ISK related videos to come, I can assure you.